What's up, everyone? Kevin Allen here, aka the Geek from DFS Army, and this is your NFL Week 17 first look. Let's do this. All right, it is Week 17, 1 week till the end of the season. Some playoff implications going on. Lots of little things of note that we have to take a look at. But one of the big things that I wanted to talk about this week is just the odds tables and which teams. The best indicator of which teams have something to play for, have something going on, are going to be these live odds. So we're going to take a look at some of these game totals. And this week, there are basically two games that stand out above all the others that we're going to probably want to focus on for DFS purposes. So let's get right into it here. And first game of the week, Cardinals at the Falcons, 41-point total. This one's pretty gross. A couple spots of interest here. We're going to take a look at, for example, James Conner has been doing pretty well for the Cardinals in the absence of a quarterback, Trace McSorley. I don't like the scene, but it's something. Falcons had a big game last week from their running back, Tyler Algier. That's been interesting and definitely the kind of player that stands out on FanDuel, the yardage and touchdown back. So we'll keep them in mind, but that 41-point total is pretty gross. The big game of the week here, Bears at the Lions. We get a dome game in the heart of winter. That is already a reason to get excited. The Lions still have things to play for. So I love this Lions offense across the board, from Goff to Amon-Ra to even Swift, with the possible injury to Jamal Williams. Let's keep them in mind. On the Bears side, Justin Fields, David Montgomery, a couple spots that might be of interest as well. But definitely the Lions offense, 52-point total at this point. It's being bet up. So bettors definitely like this game. Next up, the Broncos at the Chiefs. That one does not look as sexy at all. This is just a Chiefs blowout waiting to happen. Mahomes priced up really, really high. Broncos decent enough against wide receivers and just slowing down opponents defensively to where I think this game's kind of gross. And I'm not sure I'm going to pay the Mahomes price this week, even with a pretty decent game total. He needs to smash, and I'm not sure that can happen. Dolphins at the Patriots. Tua probably going to be out. 42-point total. Ugly, low-scoring potential game here. Patriots defense is of interest, and we'll pay attention to them and see where the salary is at for those guys. Colts at the Giants. Giants are 5-point home favorites in this one. Again, another defense that's interesting, especially if they roll out Big Pick Nick. What the hell was that? Nick Foles is not the answer. Colts are a disaster right now. I can't even believe the Giants are only favored by 5. It's more of how bad are the Giants right now than anything else. But that 39.5-point total is a stay away. And I guess some of those Giants wide receivers, those cheapies, might be interesting if we need value. But that's more of a DraftKings than FanDuel thing anyway. Saints at the Eagles. Gardner Minshew again. I'll take it if we can get it. So I think the Eagles would be wise to rest Hurts for another week. There's no reason to play him. Minshew should be able to do more than enough. Even him, they're already favored by 7. He should be able to do more than enough to win this game. Give Hurts another week of rest. Total 44. Eagles side, interesting. Saints side, a complete no bueno. Next, we got the Panthers at the Bucks. And this one, 39, another gross one, low scoring affair here, 39.5 points. These are not, we don't want a lot of players from 39-point total games. It's that simple. One-offs at the most. You are not going to load up. There's not enough touchdowns to go around in these games. With that being said, you know, DJ Moore looked fine again last week, and he's certainly playable for the Panthers. I'm not going to go there with the running backs for the Panthers, but I think DJ Moore is fine. On the Tampa side, you know, maybe White, the running back, those wide receivers, but this is a pretty gross game, and I'm going to stay away from it. Definitely not touching these quarterbacks. Browns at Commanders again, a game to kind of stay away from, 40.5-point total. One-offs might work out. I mean, the Browns have started to finally throw a little bit to Amari Cooper with Deshaun Watson. Maybe he's going to get a little better, but I don't think we'll see the good version of Deshaun Watson this year. I think that's a next year thing, hopefully. We'll see. And then, of course, got the Commanders. A couple of interesting pieces here on the Commanders, even in this low-scoring game. Brian Robinson Jr., again, FanDuel, interesting play. He's getting a lot of the carries for the Commanders. And, of course, Terry McLaurin Jahan Dotson, all one-off kind of plays for me. I'm going to stay away from the Cleveland running backs as well here. The Commanders are very good against the run, and you saw what they did last week against Christian McCaffrey. They're shockingly good against opposing running backs this season, so I'm going to watch out for that. Jaguars at the Texans. The Jaguars sneakily have nothing to play for, so this is a dangerous spot. Now, by that, I mean this. The Jaguars' entire season hinges on their game in Week 18 against the Titans. Titans win, Titans are in. Jaguars win, Jaguars are in. It's that simple. There aren't other real scenarios for them where they need to win this game. Therefore, there's a reasonable chance that the Jaguars at some point actually rest some starters during this game. Now, I don't know that that's going to happen. It would not be super precedented, but it's something to keep in mind. The Jaguars may not play their starters throughout this game because they need them for Week 18. That's the important game for that team. So let's just keep that in mind. And also, I kind of want to see what the Titans do in their team. But, I mean, it's kind of, I'm trying to think if this 43.5 point total is telling this tale. I really think this close spread might be telling the tale that, hey, there's something up. But they might not play their guys the whole time. So we're going to pay attention to news on the Jaguars throughout the week. If they were set to play starters for 4 quarters, Travis Etienne, very interesting. Zay Jones, and that whole crew would be interesting for me, including Trevor Lawrence. But there's a little risk there. So a little rare sort of Week 17, not the last week of the season, starter resting risk to keep him healthy for Week 18. Again, unprecedented, but might be the case this week. 49ers at Raiders. 44.5 point total. That's not bad. 49ers 6-point favorites. I think there's some goodness that can be had from this 49ers offense. George Kittle has been fantastic. Christian McCaffrey finally gets a spectacular matchup against the Raiders. And of course, Ayuk, any of those guys could pop off. I think with the Raiders, I'm going to probably stay away from Josh Jacobs in a tough matchup. Super priced up. He needs a ceiling game. Don't expect it. But I think that, Devontae Adams has some mild appeal here. Not a ton, but a little mild, like mild salsa. Well, mild wings. You ever order wings that are mild? Man the fuck up. Don't order mild wings. That's whack. Get real wings. Mild wings. Shouldn't even be a mild wing. If you're going to get mild wings, just get the barbecue sauce. Seriously. Anyway, Jets at the Seahawks. 42.5 point total. I actually like this game. I like the Jets side of it. The Jets are playing out the season. They have a slim chance at the playoffs, so they're going to play this as best they can. Mike Effin White back under the helm for the Jets. That makes the Jets kind of like a legitimate offense again. Get rid of Milfson. Sack Milfson. Gone. And I think the Jets wide receivers are going to be very much in play. Bargains on Elijah Moore and Chris Davis. We've got the Seahawks, one of the worst teams against tight ends. So unfortunately, Jets have 2 tight ends. Really hard to pick out the better one between Azuma and Conklin, but certainly bargain playable. And Garrett Wilson. Mike Garrett, lots of good plays on the Jets side of this one. Not super excited about the Seattle players. So that's going to be a Jets focus for me. The second decent total game on the slate, we got the Vikings at the Packers. And, it's the frozen tundra, cold, but both teams playing a win here. Vikings, Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook. Heavy dose of Dalvin Cook maybe in the cold. And on the Packers side, we got to see what the story is with Christian Watson. We also got to see the story with Aaron Jones. He got his ankle rolled last week, didn't play in the second half. A.J. Dillon stepped up. If we can get A.J. Dillon with all the work, I am super excited about that. So that's something I'm interested in. And some cheapy Packers wide receivers, maybe Romeo Doubs, if Christian Watson is out this week, would be of interest. So a couple spots of interest in what is the second highest total game of the slate. Final game, Rams at the Chargers here. And this one's pretty gross. The Chargers, man, I'm sorry, but Herbert, it's enough. He's priced too high all season. He's been a massive disappointment. It's just been a disaster for Justin Herbert this year. Rams, decent defense. I am just not into this game very much at all. Of course, there are plays from both sides, and Mike Williams is going to be interesting. He's a touchdown scorer when he's used, and so on and so forth. But for the most part, this is a tough one. On the Rams side, they're mild interest in Cam Akers. Again, let's see where his salary is. on this slate. So let's flip over to the FanDuel screen and see what we can figure out. I will push myself off screen here so we can. Ooh, that's the wrong one. Off screen here so we could see the whole thing. And let's go through it. Quarterback position starting at the top. Again, I mentioned during the breakdown that I think Pat Mahomes is a little too expensive for the situation. Massive favorite, good defense. So I'm going to be off of that. Jalen Hurts, I do not expect to play here. They should not play him. So I'll be off of that as well. Justin Fields, playable, but a little pricey, considering he doesn't have a whole lot of options as pass catchers. But Justin Fields, 8,400, coming off the dud game. He's the first quarterback of interest for me, so I'm not going to be interested in Mahomes. Justin Fields, yes. Lamar Jackson, no. It's no. Trevor Lawrence, there is risk here of some rest at some point during this game. I do like Trevor Lawrence normally in a spot like this, but there's a little bit of doesn't play the whole game risk. So I might probably stay away from him, listen for blurbs or discussions about that game to see if, they're like, no, we're playing it out. Depends on the coach and the thought process. But for the most part, there is reason to rest players this week in anticipation of next week's big game. I'm not sure teams ever do stuff like that. It's just something that's a possibility. Kirk Cousins on the road in the frozen tundra is a no-go. No. Minshew, yes. Okay, so we can go right back to Minshew. And if you watched my DraftKings first look, didn't have a FanDuel one last week, but if you watched my DraftKings first look, you were on Minshew last week and you prospered. It was a great fucking week for us loading up on Gardner Minshew. And I think we could do it again here. Gardner wants to prove himself. He's out there looking good. Great weapons on the Eagles. And Gardner, is this guy's going to be a starter somewhere next year. I feel it. I mean, teams are going to take a shot on him. So I hope he can represent himself well this week in this game. So he's one of my QBs of interest. But the quarterback I'm going with for the first look is Jared Goff. And that's because he's at home against a horrible Chicago defense. Detroit wants to win out here. And Jared Goff occasionally has a good game. Even last week in the dud, he had a good game, right? He didn't even throw for many. It's like they lost, but he threw for 355 yards on the road, 3 touchdowns, all to Brennan Zylstra. What the who? I had Goff stacks, but if you stacked him, it didn't work out. It was unfortunate. Oh, how the mighty hath fallen. Tom Brady's down here now. Aaron Jones, where they belong in salary. Daniel Jones, not super interested in him either. But the other quarterback that I am going to have some interest in this week is Mike Effin White on the road at Seattle. White has looked pretty good as well. So my QB mix this week, looking all the way down here, don't really like Heineke. Full, so bad. No McSorley. So my QB mix this week is pretty much going to be White, Goff, Minshew, and maybe Fields. And that's about it. I might play Trevor Lawrence if we don't think they're going to rest guys, but it's going to be a really, really tight QB player pool for me this week. If somebody else emerges over the course of the week, great. But right now, that's what it's looking like. Maybe Daniel Jones. Probably not. All right, let's take a look at the running back position, see what we can figure out here. So we already started our lineup with sort of a lower cost QB there in. Let's put the smaller one up here so we can see it. There we go. So a lower cost QB here in Jared Goff. So let's take a look at the running back position, see what we come up with. And again, going back to it here, Christian McCaffrey gets a better matchup this week against a really bad Raiders run defense. So I'm interested in CM Sizzles if we can get him in there. Saquon Barkley hasn't yet paid off anywhere near this $9,200 salary he's showing on FanDuel, 918.27 fantasy points. I mean, he hasn't gotten anywhere near there. You need 3x salary to be in the discussion on a given week, and this guy hasn't done it. So I don't know that I'm going there this week, but it's certainly a very, very good, I would say great matchup for Barkley. But I'm just not sure I want to pay all the way up for him. Let's see what the rest of the running back position has for us here. Josh Jacobs against the number 1 rush defense. Again, he'll need a ceiling game in a spot where it's going to be a long shot to get a ceiling game. So probably not super interested there either. Dalvin Cook hasn't really been all that great this year either. I think he's only had one good game. One game where he paid off salary all season. Let's take a look. 8, 16, 24. So actually here we had this week against Chicago where he did okay. And then a couple other weeks where like the Buffalo game was a bit of a shock, where he had some good yardage. But for the most part, he's been a disappointment all year and certainly has not been somebody that you want to pay $8K for or $8,300 for on FanDuel. So proceed with caution there. Connor getting a ton of looks for Arizona right now with them lacking any sort of quarterback plays that put up 4 pretty decent scores in a row. So again, I don't love the price point, but I guess we keep him in our mix this week. Travis Etienne, if it wasn't for the fact that I'm legitimately worried that the Jaguars have nothing to play for here or have reason to rest guys, I'd be all over Etienne against Houston. I still kind of like it, but I'm not ready to make a commitment to Travis Etienne just yet, primarily because I'm just not sure how they're going to treat their starters if they kind of take them out in the second half, or I don't think they do. It's so rare that NFL teams do that, but there is reason to be concerned. So I do like Travis Etienne. He'd probably be my first pick here in that matchup against Houston's horrible rush defense, but I'm going to proceed with caution. Dave Montgomery, a good spot here as well against Detroit on the road. Detroit's run defense had been a little bit better than advertised up until last week where they ran it down their throats. I just think this is going to be a high-scoring game, and Montgomery will have heavy involvement. I think as a bonus for Montgomery, the backup running back looked terrible last week. So, Herbert looked like he was going to maybe take some touches coming back, but he did not look good last week. So I don't necessarily expect a whole lot from him. Kamara's a no for me. A.J. Dillon, let's plug him in. So assuming that Aaron Jones, Aaron, maybe has the ankle issue, maybe he won't play this week. He rolled it up, remains available, blah, blah, blah. I would love for him to sit so we can get A.J. Dillon with the full workload at this price. I really like that scene. So I'm going to be interested in A.J. Dillon, but with the caveat that we got to pay attention to Aaron Jones, the ankle situation. If Jones plays, I really don't love Dillon as much. If Jones sits, I am probably going to be all in on A.J. Dillon this week on FanDuel, meaning every lineup I make. So that's going to be important. In another injury spot, DeAndre Swift. Listen, Jamal Williams, where's Jamal? There he is. Leg injury, came out of the game, hurt the ankle. We don't know. It's too early. This is a first look. I don't know. But if Jamal Williams is going to be out this week, then we can go right to DeAndre Swift in the matchup of the week in a gorgeous matchup against this mediocre Lions defense in general that just got torched last week by a bunch of ne'er-do-wells, right? Donta Foreman and Chuba Hubbard and all those guys. So keep DeAndre Swift in mind. Let's continue down the running back grouping here. Ramondre, what a disappointment he was last week. Not injured, but 2 fumbles. Really just a disaster for Stevenson. He cost me a trip to the finals in one of my leagues, and it's really hard to forgive it. Especially, it just sucked. The fumbles, -2. It got a 0.5 out of Ramondre. Tough way to go down. But here he is again in a good spot. Miami looks like shit with no Tua. We've got Patriots defense going to be one of my favorite plays. So somebody to keep in mind. Leonard Fournette, also pretty decent spot here at home against Carolina. I don't mind Fournette at all at 7K. He'll be absolutely in my FanDuel mix. On FanDuel, I'm trying to pay down for these running backs. We just need touchdowns. You got to pay down a little bit. Paying all the way up for the running back forces us into really terrible wide receivers that really, we need touchdowns from our wide receivers. So you got to pay up for the better wide receivers on FanDuel, in my opinion, to try to win a tournament. And that's my general and always approach to FanDuel. I'm always looking for the sub, 7,500 and even sub 7K running back group that could do some damage. So let's keep Fournette in mind as well. We're going to have 3 running backs on FanDuel every single week. That is the appropriate way to play it. So we're going to kind of focus on this area here. So Ramondre, I think you can go back to him, start off a dud, but there's a lot of risk there. With the 2 fumbles last week, maybe Belichick won't like that. Leonard Fournette, another player, he's talking about he's been playing with a Liz Frank injury or whatever, but he got a lot of carries last week. He got targets, carries. He was just heavily used, and I think that just keeps going. So I'm down with Fournette as well. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to assume that Dylan isn't the starter, and we could pop Fournette in there as well. And again, we have guys that we could switch back. There's a lot of good plays on FanDuel here, sub 7K. So we're going to get into all of them as well. Let's see what's going on with the Colts and the quarterback. If they go back to Matt Ryan, I might have some interest in Zach Moss. This game could be a little more competitive. Brian Robinson, yes. All right, Brian Robinson is pretty much getting massive amounts of volume. It was a brutal matchup last week against the 49ers, but now he's at home against a shitty Cleveland rush defense. This is a guy I'm going to be excited about on FanDuel this week. That's right. I said Brian Robinson. Miles Sanders, same deal. Yardage and touchdowns guy, good potential FanDuel play. Jerick McKinnon, no. Tyler Algier, yeah, he's going to be in my mix as well. Tyler Algier getting tons and tons of yardage and touchdown type carries. He gets another decent matchup against an Arizona team that is rolling out fucking Trace McSorley or some bullshit quarterback that stinks. No worries there. You can go right back to Algier in this spot. I believe Caleb Huntley is hurt, which is why Algier got so many carries. But they don't have anybody else in Atlanta. They're not really running anyone else. And they run it a ton. They're a run-focused team. So I don't mind Algier here on FanDuel as well. Kenny Walker, tough matchup against the Jets. I don't know if I'm going to get super excited about that one. Lats Murray, also tough matchup. Not a great spot for him. I just hate playing Lats Murray. So fucking old that I'm not going to be super interested in that guy. Najee Harris at Baltimore is an acceptable play here. Donta Foreman, all right. J.K. Dobbins is fine. Man, can you go back to Zonovan Knight in such a good running back matchup? And he killed us last week, but I don't know that I can go there. It's going to be tough to trust. Once you've broken the trust, it's tough to go back. The trust was broken. It's been broken for a few weeks. Continuing down the list, see if anybody else sticks out here. No, that's about it. So that covers the running back position. Now, what I like to do is jump over to defense and start at the bottom. FanDuel's usually really good about adjusting the price of their defense based on the matchup. So let's see if that's the case this week. And we'll just go through some of these and see if we can find any interesting situations. So Raiders, no. Texans, no. Saints, no. Broncos, no. Vikings, no. Panthers, no. Panthers, okay. If I needed to pay all the way down a team against the Bucs, that's fine. No. 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 Yeah, they did a good job of pricing the defenses here on FanDuel to areas where they should be. It's going to be tricky to find a cheap one. So far, the Panthers are the, quote, only cheap defense that I think might even have some viability, and I don't love it. But my favorite on the slate is probably going to be the Patriots at home here. 4K, not bad, going up against Teddy Bridgewater or, you know, the third string QB or whoever Miami puts in there. Probably not going to be a very good situation for the Miami quarterback next week. Colts at the Giants, no. Jets at Seattle, maybe. No. Panthers, no. Chiefs playable against Denver, but not something I'm excited about. Jaguars of Houston, no. Ravens, no. Giants, maybe, right? If they roll out Big Dick Nick, I'm all about the Giants defense here. Seattle to Jets, no. And 49ers on the road, no. So not so many great situations. I think the Patriots, I think Atlanta is playable as well against Trace McSorley. So for me, it's probably going to be between the Patriots or Atlanta as my go-to, with the Panthers as a potential side note. All right, let's jump over to tight end, and then we'll get to the wide receiver, see how much salary remaining we can have for our wide receiver position. So Travis Kelce, always a good spot against the Denver defense. That's actually pretty good to attack with tight ends. Should be fine for 8K. Kittle, 7,400, has been smashing the last few weeks, so he's going to be of interest here. Hawkinson, wow. If you didn't have no Hawkinson, no money last week, but I'm not sure we're going to get that again for 7K. Taysom Hill, 6,800. Last week was the Taysom Hill week. We told you he was going to play quarterback at tight end, so that worked out okay, I guess. But yeah, got you an 11, just all right. Mark Andrews, Oh boy, I just can't trust this quarterback at this point. It's not a good spot for Eagles tight end either. Saints, one thing they're really good at is stopping tight ends. Evan Ingram smashing the last few weeks. Pat Freiermuth looked pretty good. There's a couple good spots down here. Let's kind of see how low we can go with a reasonable tight end. We got Jared Goff in there. There's no tight end to tie him in with. Noah Fant. Cole Kmet could be playable here. I don't hate it, but that'll be for my Fields lineups probably primarily. How cheap can we get? Jets, tight ends, Conklin, that's playable as well. You know what? Seattle's so bad against the tight end position. Can we take a chance on Conklin? I think so. I mean, he got a bunch of targets for Mike White at times. I think we can go with Tyler Conklin and pay all the way down. What I'm going to do is see if we have any salary left over to upgrade. Of course, my favorite tight end is going to be Travis Kelce most weeks. I don't mind paying up here. None of these guys, though, are really screaming, hey, you got to pay up. Evan Ingram has had some great games, but again, there's that weirdness with Jacksonville where I'm not sure how long they'll play their starters. I think Patty Freiermuth had a decent game, but 10 points. I mean, this is about what we can expect. We can super punt the tight end position and just kind of get away with it most of the time, especially on FanDuel. So let's jump over to wide receiver and see what we can get to. Justin Jefferson is my absolute guy that I'm trying to squeeze into lineups. If I can, I'm going to plug him in. Actually, with a caveat, we got to wait for weather conditions out of Green Bay. If it's some sort of frozen tundra situation, freezing, windy, we don't know, then maybe it won't be best to play Justin Jefferson. But, he does stand out as a great spot. But actually, my stud wide receiver that I'll plug in here is Amon-Ra. And that's because, I started the lineup with Jared Goff. So I've got Swift, Amon-Ra. That's a beautiful two-man stack anyway. It does kind of make me want to bring in Cole Kmet for the bring back, but we've learned this season that bring backs are only semi-important most of the time, although last week it really worked out with Minshew and those Dallas players. Continue on, Tyreek Hill with backup quarterback is no bueno. Devontae Adams, San Francisco is particularly not that good against wide receivers because they're so good against the run, so Adams is playable here. They need a ceiling game. I'm going to keep him in mind. A.J. Brown can always pop off at any time. DeAndre Hopkins, no. Devonta Smith, no. Jalen Waddle, no. We don't want wide receivers tied in to this backup quarterback situation for Miami. Chris Godwin's okay. DK Metcalf is going to go up against Sauce Gardner. That's a pass. Mike Evans, it's been so long since he had a good game, but this could be it. This could be that game where a player from the Bucks finally has a good game. I don't know. McLaurin is fine. Garrett Wilson is somebody I definitely like a lot in this spot. 7,300. He's not really priced down as low as I'd like to see, but give me that Jets offense. Leaves us 7,100. Let's see how the numbers kind of work out here. Michael Pittman, no. Amari Cooper finally started to get some targets last week. I think he got 10 targets in that game. Yeah, 6 receptions. Didn't really quite do a whole lot with it, but that was a tough spot in the wind and the rain and all that stuff. I think Amari Cooper could finally have a good game here with Deshaun Watson, but let's see if we can't target those games with the high totals. DJ Moore also coming off a pretty good game, and he's very playable at the 7K level. No for Brown. Again, Kirk in the weirdness game. Sutton, playable. Schuster, playable. London, somewhat playable. Yeah, we're going to have to live in this cheap running back zone because you're seeing here, as we go down the wide receiver list, it gets worse and worse. Donovan Peoples-Jones, I just rather play Cooper for a little bit more compared to Peoples-Jones, and I do not mind this spot at all. And again, Washington's much more of a team you want to attack via the pass than via the run. So that one's of interest. Let's just continue down this wide receiver grouping, though, and see what else pops up of interest. Brandon Ayuk with no Debo has been fine. Cooks, no touchdown upside. Slayton, fine. Zay Jones, again, love him whenever we get a full game out of Trevor Lawrence. So I'd be interested in him again if we knew that his team was going to play this game out in full. Adam Thielen, okay. Isaiah Hodgins, overpriced. Lazard, maybe of interest. Yeah, I love DJ Shark as well here. I do not mind this spot for 6K if we want to upgrade somewhere else. Let's say we plugged in a DJ Shark somebody that price. We're left with 1,100 to spend. We can upgrade any of these running back spots. We could probably get from Wilson to an even better wide receiver. So I'm liking that. Or certainly we could now pay up at tight end for somebody a little bit better. So that can work. But let's continue on down this wide receiver path and see if there's any other players of note below the 7K range or the 6K range here. Kadarius Toney, no. Rick James, 5,700 playable. Rashid Shaheed, 5,600 punt worthy. Marshall, maybe. Corey Davis down here. And Elijah Moore. I forgot that. So Corey Davis and Elijah Moore are both extreme punts that could pay off on FanDuel this week and DraftKings. So we're going to have some interest in those guys for sure. Where's Elijah Moore? 5,300. I mean, these are the spots. But that I do think that'll do it for the players of interest here on FanDuel. So, guys, that's going to do it for our FanDuel NFL Week 17 first look. Remember to subscribe to the channel. We've got content coming out all week. Wednesdays, we got the game plan with John Sensational Alessia, top DFS player in the world, top 20, and one of the best sports bettors in the world. He's going to break down all the bets for this week, all his favorite DFS plays on the game plan on Wednesdays. And of course, Thursdays, we have our showdown breakdowns, and Fridays, tournament tactics. We've got NFL covered all week long. And then, of course, NBA every single day. Josiah Bob crushing it with his daily breakdowns, giving you a view of the slate, all that good stuff. So make sure you've liked, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you can find out when our next videos are coming out. That's going to do it for the FanDuel first look this week. Again, I'll be back tomorrow or on Wednesday, depending on when you're watching this. I'm back on Wednesday with the game plan, breaking down bets, breaking down everything. And we've got a big special going on over at DFS Army. Promo code Christmas gets you 50% off VIP this week. 50% off VIP. That's full access to everything we do, the Domination Station Optimizer, the Research Station, the cheat sheets, the core plays, and of course, the community where you get coaching and we learn and teach how to use the tools. All the great stuff that DFS Army VIPs get. All the reason why you see DFS Army subscribers and helmets at the top of all of your tournaments and contests, why we crush week after week after week after week. Join us. Find out what's up. You get 50% off, normally $69.99. So it'll be $35 for a month of DFS Army full VIP access. We prize picks covered. We've got everything you want. So check it out, and I'll see you guys next time on another First Look.